Hey, and welcome to this video lesson. Today I want to talk to you about what the optimal musical journey of a complete beginner should look like. Specifically, if the goal is to avoid frustration, learn the most important fundamentals first, and focus not just on one part of making music, but on all the important areas simultaneously. Let me say up front that in this video I only want to give you an overview. I won't be showing specific exercises here because that would definitely go beyond the scope of a single video. And I also don't want to make any absolute statements about how long this phase of the musical journey takes. It always depends on the individual, on how much talent someone brings, but also how carefully and consistently someone practices, and of course how much time they dedicate each day and how regularly they practice. After giving you this overview, I will give you some estimates about how long it might take if you invest a certain amount of daily practice time into learning these skills. I personally have been teaching my students according to this system for almost 20 years now, and my online course is structured in exactly the same way. As always, I've prepared a very detailed guide and overview for you as a free PDF file, which you can download by clicking the link in the video description or the first pinned comment. So let's dive right in. I've divided all the important areas of making music into 4 main categories. Categories that not only beginners but also intermediate and even very advanced musicians should always keep working on. These are technical skills, music theory and general musical knowledge, songs, licks and solos you want to learn from other musicians, and creative skills. All of these together represent the entire spectrum of making music. Let's start with the first category, technical skills. Here and in all other categories, I'm assuming you're starting completely from zero, meaning you've never played music before and you don't know anything about it. First, it's important to know how to hold your guitar and how to position your fingers. A lot of beginners already make some mistakes here. For example, some people straighten their fingers completely when trying to fret chords because they think that gives them more strength. If you take lessons from a classical guitar teacher, you'll often hear that your thumb must stay behind the neck at all times. But since all modern musical styles, starting with the blues, which is already about 100 years old, all the way to rock, metal, folk, funk, and singer-songwriter, use the thumb either to mute the lower strings or even to fret notes, you should learn from the very beginning to position your thumb around the neck. Then you should also learn how to place your strumming or picking hand. This involves the entire forearm, the wrist and the fingers. Only with proper hand positioning will you be able to learn all strumming and picking techniques effectively and internalize them quickly enough so that you don't have to consistently focus on your picking hand. For both beginners and advanced players, the main focus should always be more on the fretting hand because there's much more going on that needs to be quote-unquote observed there than on the picking hand side. Next come the basic skills of strumming, both with and without a pick, as well as finger picking and flat picking. And once you gradually learn all 8 of your basic open chords and can combine them with these skills, you've already completed your technical foundation in music making. Our second category, music theory and music knowledge, includes several subcategories that are all connected to each other. When it comes to music theory itself, you don't need to learn much at this stage. It's useful to know the names of all the open chords, understand what a chord actually is, know the names of the open strings, and maybe understand what an interval and a key are. A basic understanding of rhythm is necessary too. What rhythm is, how to count it, what different time signatures like 4/4, 3/4 and 6/8 mean, and what it means to strum quarter notes, eighth notes or 16th notes. For general musical knowledge, it's especially helpful to know how to read chord diagrams, how to read simple tablature, and at least the basics of standard notation. Then it's helpful to know the most important tools a guitarist uses and how to handle them. This means you should know about pick thicknesses and materials, string types and gauges, tuners, capos, and maintenance tools. When it comes to your instrument and its care, You should definitely know all the different parts of your acoustic or electric guitar. You should also know the general differences between classical guitars, steel string guitars, and various types of electric guitars. Then you should know how to change your strings and how to clean your guitar, especially the fretboard. Some basic ear training doesn't hurt either. Too many beginners neglect this and start way too late or never start at all. Our society is dominated by the visual. It's much easier to watch a quick YouTube video of a song or download tabs than to take the time to figure out a song by ear. But you can start with very simple things like tuning your guitar by ear or learning to tell the open strings apart by sound. And if you're especially diligent and want to become a good musician quickly, try learning to distinguish the basic open chords by ear. It also helps to learn how to identify different instruments in a recording. I've had many students who never thought about this and couldn't do it at all. After practicing this together, they were always grateful and often told me that they enjoy listening to music far more now because they hear so much more detail. Nowadays, thanks to AI tools that can separate individual instrument tracks, this is easier than ever before. There are websites like this one that can do this quite reliably for free. Now let's move on to the songs you should be working on as a beginner. I've put together a list of 10 very simple songs. Of course, there are many more and they vary depending on age and taste. But what you should definitely avoid is using bar chords or power chords at this stage, and also avoiding single note lines for now. Being able to play basic open chords and different rhythms along with a recording is already challenge enough. A huge problem many beginners have is that they pick songs that are far too difficult and then they get stuck on certain parts for weeks or even months. Often they focus so much on learning those difficult parts that they neglect all other areas of music making, and sometimes they even forget things they had already learned. There will still be plenty of time to work on harder material once you've mastered the basics. Most importantly, you should never aim to be a quote-unquote parrot who only imitates others. You should always understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. And now let's talk about the last category, creative skills. Unfortunately, many people still believe that the creative side of making music, like improvising or writing songs, is only reserved for a handful of extremely talented people. Many think you need special abilities or that you can only be creative when inspiration strikes. But the creative side of music can be learned just like technical skills or individual songs. You just have to begin and you need to follow a plan and a system. That's why I said earlier that it's important to always know what you're doing and how you're doing it. For example, if you understand the rhythms in your first song, how to strum them, when to play upstrokes or downstrokes, how to count the rhythm, then after learning your first song, you can rearrange the chords, put them in a different order and already be creative. After learning your second song, you can swap rhythms between the songs or combine the chords of one with the rhythm of the other. And suddenly you're a creative musician. Here's a short list of creative skills that even beginners can learn easily. Being able to combine rhythms you've already learned with the chords you already know. Writing chord progressions with 2, 3 or 4 chords. Identifying intros, verses, choruses and bridges in the songs you've learned so you can structure your own very first songs in the same way. Combining all the technical skills from category 1, like finger picking or flat picking, with your basic chords, giving you the ability to finger pick in the verse and strum in the chorus, for instance, which gives you a lot more songwriting options. So that's the complete list of skills worth learning as a beginner to create a solid foundation of fundamental skills. So how long does it usually take to learn all of this? Like I said at the beginning, it depends on talent, but even more on discipline. I've had highly talented students who were able to learn many of these things pretty quickly. But talent is only one side of the coin. Far more important is practicing with discipline. That means avoiding distractions from material that's too difficult too early, simply because you're impatient. And of course, it depends on how much time you can invest each day. During the first few months of your musical journey, the ideal practice time is 30 minutes per day. If you manage to practice 30 minutes every day, you can make incredible progress. It's especially helpful to work on several skills at the same time. For technical skills, for example, you can easily combine learning basic chords with learning different rhythms, or combine learning basic chords with techniques like flat picking and finger picking. You can also naturally combine multiple skills when learning songs. If you get into the habit of spending the first 5 minutes of every practice session listening to the strings, tuning your guitar by ear, and then double checking with a tuner, you will effortlessly develop the most important ability any musician needs, your ear. And even when you're not holding a guitar, for example, when you're out and about, you can still listen for rhythms, individual instruments, and production techniques while listening to music. That also gives you an advantage over others who rarely pay attention to these things. A while ago, I've uploaded a video on exactly these topics. Everything that you can do to improve on the guitar, even when you don't have one in your hand. That video is now linked right up here. You can also learn an enormous amount about the guitar from books or YouTube videos, even when you're not able to practice directly on your instrument. Later, when the guitar virus has really hit you and you're sure that you want to continue playing long term, you can extend your daily practice time to an hour and create a small practice plan depending on the day and your energy level. You should spread all the important things you want to learn across the week. Planning is essential for success in every area. If you work out, you have a training plan. If you work in a company, you have financial plans, shift plans, and work schedules. In school, there's a timetable. There are nutrition plans for people who want to gain or lose weight. So why not also create plans for making music? They work just as well here as they do in any other area of life. Even practicing itself must be learned. The more you study your practice habits and the more you try to optimize them, the better you'll become and the faster your progress will be. So for a relatively talented person that practices with a lot of discipline, all of this can be learned and implemented within the first year of playing. Of course, you can always make faster progress if you work with a dedicated and competent guitar teacher. Because even in the day and age of YouTube and online guitar learning, nothing beats working with a mentor who knows what they're doing. And that's it for this video. If you have any questions about this topic, please write them in the comments. If you'd like me to explain the next phase of your musical journey in the same way, let me know. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. And then I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye.